and I mean, it's priceless, and it really is. They're wonderful mementos. I mean, they're very Apple-like. You can see the card that Billy had done here. And she does these beautiful calendars with her trips every year. And I mean, it really, you can personalize it. You can do certain dates on things like this. We're going to talk about these a little bit. This is the hardcover book. It comes with a flyleaf. And it's actually one of the pictures we took by iPhone from the gravesite. And, you know, these are just gorgeous. So there's ways to customize this also because you're not stuck to the exact pages they have in there. Because you can build a page in Keynote and send that whole thing as a photo. So I'll leave those there. Be careful if you mess up that book, you're going to have to mess with my mom. So a couple things came up during the break is, of course, we're going to talk about how do you share your photos once we get them in here. And that's gotten easier with, yes, I am, thank you. So again, we're going to go 2 more places over here on the left-hand side. We saw how to make albums. We did smart albums. Albums are the same. You can highlight the things you want to make an album with, and you go down here and you say add to, and you say album, and you can add them to an existing album or you can create an album, okay? So I'm not going to do that, but that's how they come over here. But I'm going to go to faces. Now, oh, now that's funny. That's my brother. That's not Gordon Brock. My brother's name is Gordon. I have to edit that.
Not Gordon.
Gordon is my brother, not Gordon Brock, the ex-president of MacNexus. So, and that's my nephew. Oh, gosh, I was doing these too quick. Eric Rainey is a black guy I used to play hockey with, and that's definitely my nephew, not Eric Rainey. So, and that's not Ryan Adams, who I also played hockey with. That's my nephew, Ryan. Okay, so faces. Built in to iPhoto is facial recognition. Oh my gosh, facial recognition, the NSA. Look, the NSA already knows what your face looks like and they already put you up there. But facial recognition is really cool because I can take, let's see here. Here's Kaylee, my niece. Oh, she has way too many photos. So let's go to Ryan. This is my nephew, Ryan. And I pick up, so you'll notice, here's the face of Ryan, okay? And I have selected Ryan in this photo, because this is part of the big Spencer clan here. And Ryan is part of this photo. In fact, he's this little small one right here. So, but it says Ryan may be in 2 additional photos. Oh, I'm sorry, that kind of goes off the bottom. So, well, anyway, Ryan may be in 2 additional photos, and it says confirm photos there. So I'm going to say confirm additional photos. Well, this definitely isn't Ryan. That's actually Angie's mother. So I click on that and say no. Oh, wait, I got to change this to Ryan, not Ryan Adams. Come on. I thought I fixed it. Cancel. Cancel. Yeah, oh, interesting. Okay. I took it away completely. Now it's Ryan. Well, okay, don't misname people or they're stuck forever. So I'm going to call my nephew and tell him he has to change his last name. He's no longer a Spencer. So we know this isn't Ryan, my nephew, so I click no. And we know this isn't either, so I click no and then hit done. So it appears in this small library I have, that's all the ones I have are Ryan. You click it twice. I'll show you on the next one here. So, huh? These become acquired. So let's go to a photo here. I don't take very many people photos, although we just had. Well, let's see here. We've got the whole group of people, but I don't want to make I can do that. So let's do this. Let's try this right here. So here's a photo, okay? Mind if I use you as a guinea pig?
No problem.
All right. So if I go into this photo, this is in my photos, and I hit info, and it says I have 3 unnamed faces. Obviously, I have more faces than that in here, but 3 of them are unnamed. So we're going to call you Test, just for Sam. Test. Well, I'm going to delete the face at the end. It'll just be easier. Well, yeah, we're going to have to. So you're now Test for the rest of your life. So I'm going to say that's Test. And then we have Setsko right next to you here, but there's no name by Setsko. Or there's no, actually this, let's see, Setsko is kind of a side shot. We're going to pick on you here, and you're going to be Test 2. But you'll notice there's no box around it. So instead of the 2 unnamed, I'm going to say add a face. I'm going to zoom back out. I'm going to say add a face, okay? So if I add a face, I constrain this. Now we don't want that whole big area, but I'm going to take it and go like, oops, yeah, it's kind of weird. I can make it smaller first. All right, so that's of you, and I'm going to call you Test 2. This way the names have been changed to protect the innocent. So you'll notice I still have 2 unnamed over here, and I'm not going to worry about those right now. So, and look at this. See more photos of Test 2 in Faces. But if I go back to Photos and I go to Faces, I now have Test 1 and Test 2. Now, if your favorite person doesn't like being down the alphabetical list, you can move them up higher and put them as the first person if you want. Because otherwise it automatically does it alphabetically, but you're changing the order here. Oh, where'd I go? Test. Oh, it moved you over there. Okay. So I'm going to double click on Test. And it says, oh, confirm additional faces. So let's hit that. And one of these is him, and one of these sure isn't. Now, what's really interesting about this photo is you'll notice that this is a photo of a photo, it appears, right? Well, my good friends Jesse and Angie, their son passed away a year and a half ago, and we were finding old photos of him. And it kept coming up with a wrong photo, and it showed these other people. And I kept saying, no, it's not them. No, it's not them. It turns out at Jesse and Angie's house, these niece and nephew of theirs were posing just right next to each other, next to the fireplace. And there was a little small photo of their son Anthony on the fireplace, on the mantle. And that's what it was picking up. Now, sometimes on these unnamed faces, it'll pick up the stucco pattern or the drywall pattern, and from what I hear, it will pick up cats' faces, but not dogs. So,
It picks up doll faces too.
What doll faces? Well, yeah, and what it is, it's a calculation. It's eyes, nose, mouth, etc. calculation. So it will also pick up and confuse family members, but it will usually age with the child. The more information you give it, the more it will find more photos. So it says, is this Test and is this Test? Well, we know this is Test, so I click it one time, confirming that it's Test. This we know isn't Test, so I click it once and click it again. Rather than just leave it, tell it it's not the person so that it will help learn it. Now we're going to say done. Now, look at this. After one more photo, it says it may be in 4 additional photos. Let's see. It's not, but that's funny because it's in our same photo group here. Not, but even this blurry picture is. In fact, that's you on a different day, isn't it? That's probably from one of the MacNexus meetings or something. Done. One additional, that's definitely not you. So there they are. Oh, that's actually, yeah, the same photo. So now let's go back to our test 2. Double click. It says it might be in 2 more. Oh, no unconfirmed photos. So it didn't find any more of you. And let's remember, it didn't initially pick up your face very well. We added it. Now, if we had a lot of photos, it might find it of you. It doesn't do side shots very well, but because what we're doing is we're making an album with that person's faces in it. If you have a shot, you can make a face of the person, even if it's a side view, and put him in that album. It makes it very easy to go find shots. Plus, you can say, like my friends Jesse and Angie, if I want to search for photos of Jesse and Angie, it will combine both of them and do it that way. So that's faces. It's all automatic.
So if you have a picture of a face that so you got a picture of Nathan there.
Uh-huh.
And you've got another picture, for whatever reason, it doesn't identify him as Nathan. How do you say, hey, this is Nathan?
Well, one of 2 things. What happens is in that photo, remember I had, let's try, go back to our photo here. I have unnamed faces. So it recognizes these as faces. It didn't recognize these others. So 2 scenarios. If it has an unnamed photo, watch what happens. If I click on it and start saying that's Nathan, see, it lets me call that unnamed photo Nathan. It recognized it as a photo. If it's recognized, you can do it. And the beauty of that is it will then find further photos of Nathan. It may be Nathan with sunglasses on or a ski mask. Well, he's not a bank robber, but...
I've got some pictures of my grandkids and it doesn't identify them as so-and-so. So I just go click on them.
If it says it's an unnamed, you start typing it and it will autofill for you. But unfortunately, you can see that I must have done it too quickly because I let the autofill do the person's last name. I didn't want the last name. So, but otherwise, if it's unnamed, if there's not an unnamed there, you need to add a face and create it. Okay, and it will also go find out, and then it puts it in the mix. Okay.
How did you get that list to come up under that?
I started typing the name. So see, it was unnamed.
Okay.
And then I want to call it Nathan, so I just type N-A. And there's 2 different things on this list. Nathan, we know we've done photos for before, but these are names in my contacts, in my address book. So it's going in and searching those because that makes a lot of sense. So another good reason to keep your address book up to date. I have Nathan in my address book. He's my nephew. But in fact, for this purpose, I just want to have it just be Nathan. Now, let me show you a little scenario. And well, go ahead with your question.
Well, I found it takes a lot of time, especially as you get more pictures that they like to think, oh, that person dozens and dozens of them.
It does.
And what's the bottom line for this? What do you do?
I would only do this for people you think you're going to ever need to search for. Okay? And the amount of time you invest in it, you may get back into it, but that's the whole deal with any type of data is, hey, am I going to need this later, and how much do I want to do? It's like Kaylee. I mean, I have pictures from oh, she's only got 7. I must have the smaller library here. Wow. Because she's in everybody's photos. Because I got on the last cruise, I got her mother's camera card and I actually only brought a few of them in. It's in my big library. So if I want to get rid of test 2, I simply click on it and delete it.
You can't get rid of me that easily.
I can write and call you any name I want, though, so you better be careful. Move to trash.
These pictures match up to the ones in the post office.
Your face is deleted. I'm sorry, what was that question?
I'm just saying these match up to the ones in the post office. I mean, that's what
Yeah, well, no. Yeah, but we do have a black and white filter we can put on, or are they doing color these days? Yeah, he looks a little like Whitey Bulger, doesn't he? Yeah. Oh, wait, he's been caught. But again, it's deleting that face. And so all faces is another way of like events creates albums by date. Faces creates albums by facial recognition. Believe it or not, when you go to your iPhone and your iPad, while it won't make faces for you, you can make faces at it, but it will take those and that will be one of your criteria on your iPhone and your iPad. It goes across to it. Okay? So faces is you get out of it whatever you put into it. When I do, well, for instance, Jesse's dad here, Jesus, I had a whole bunch of photos I got from them, and in very short order, I had to make a slideshow for his memorial. And so I just imported all these photos and said, go find me all the photos with Jesus in it. And it made it really easy to make a slideshow. So, places is an album of where your photos were taken. So, my goal in life is to make sure this map has lots of pins on it. So, if we zoom out, you'll notice a lot of the pins get pretty close together, okay? Let's just take, here's up by Seattle. So I'm going to zoom in, and at some point, see it's split? So if I zoom out, this will show me everything from Seattle and 3 other cities. It doesn't matter if I've been there 12 times or 1 time. Anytime my iPhone, or if I've assigned other photos to this, that's that area. So if I click on this, it shows me all photos that I took in that area. Here was at the airport, the guy that was picking us up by our cab. That's Mom and the house she grew up in. But if I zoom in farther, you'll notice the pin splits up. And now I have just Seattle, just Puget Sound, or, well, 2 different Seattles, there, and SeaTac at the airport, okay? So you can go anywhere you want. There's obviously a lot clustered around here. Here's Salt Lake. There's all the photos. That was April 1st on the way back from other Utah. Go ahead.
Let's say you were in New York with your Canon
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to give you...
You're leading me right into my next thing. How do we assign a place to a picture? So, and his question was, with the iPhone, it does it automatically. That's why I mentioned take a picture with your iPhone so you know where it was. Now, let's go here. Remember, I just uploaded a bunch. These are all photos from my Canon. Well, actually, let's go to my Canon down here. Just SX50. So I take these photos out at a place called Mather. My sunrise photos are usually at a place called Mather Lake, right by the Mather Golf Course. So if I click on this photo and hit info, there's no location listed, correct? There's nothing listed there. So I assign it a place. Now, you need an internet connection for this because this is just like going and finding an address on a map. Now, it's called Mather Lake. Mather, it's searching. Mather, California, okay? See how, if I just hit enter right now, it'll give me Mather Lake, but let's say there's Mather Air Force Base. I don't think Mather Lake is in here. But it's not in Canada. So, I can assign, hi Kimberly, who are you looking for?
Dave Martin. Your machine downstairs.
They came and repoed your computer. Operation Repo.
And the good news, it's going to work even better now.
Yeah. Yeah, it may not look like your computer. It may look a little older than yours, but it may.
We've got an SC down there that's
Yeah.
like that trip down memory lane.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So, Mather, California is where I would assign that. I don't want to just start typing a word. Let's try St. Mark's. See, St. Mark's Avenue, things like that. You can assign it a name and then you have to assign the location, but let it do its search because if I go back here and say Mather, California, it will now assign that, and it knows where that little pin is. Now, I, in fact, did not take the picture there. I took the picture over here at Mather Lake, so I can move the pin. Whoa, slow down, Tiger. I didn't think I liked video games. No, I'll click one time. Oh, come on.
It's on the wall, that's why it was.
Yeah. It's because of the screen scrolling, so I'm going to do this incrementally. Oh, God darn it. Whoa, Tiger. I can't get too close to the edge and have it happen. Oops. Move the screen. Okay, this is taking entirely too long to...
Oh, it just jumps to things that have a name? Like
No, it's because I was getting near the edge and it wanted to scroll for me.
oh, yeah.
So
And why
if I just...
did you use Mather Lake type tag?
There wasn't... The Mather Lake was in another... It was in Canada. And so now I'm taking it right from where I do my photos. I do it right from about there. And then look at this. I can even do the satellite overview, and there's the lake. So now I've assigned that, and I can now name this. I can name this Mather Lake, because it tried to name it Rancho Cordova, which it is, Lake. And I don't even have to put California, because I know it's Mather Lake. And it has known that pin location, so I say check mark. All right, now, we know this picture was Mather Lake, right? But I don't have an assigned place to it. So watch what happens. Mather Lake, and it has my exact pin location. So once you establish that exact pin location, just like in faces, once you named the face, it became part of your pull-down menu. But please, please, please make sure the map picks up where you are, because you may just have that pin out in the middle of nowhere and not know it. You didn't have to get this exact, but I know when if I go to search, sunrise photos are always taken at Mather. I never take sunset photos at Mather Lake. So if I want to see sunrise photos, I can do it. Yes?
Are these tags, can these tags be read by any other program besides iPhoto? Like the XIF?
Yeah, I'm not sure, because it adds it to the metadata because it can come over to the phone, but I'm not sure if it gets embedded in there, but whether the other photos can read it or not, I'm not sure. Now, Pete Losey, my partner in EmpowerMac, he knows this stuff inside out, and he would, if you feel, you can email me at kenspencer.com and I'll forward that and find out, but it does become part of the metadata. I think it's whether the program can extract it or not. And it's actually basing it on longitude and latitude, so I would assume it would. I know it does to aperture, but whether it does it to the other, it should.
I just wonder if it's a native Apple thing or a big...
No, I think I think it embeds it in the XDEF. The XDEF is the metadata, by the way. Right back there first.
You have to do that with every one of those pictures.
I could have done the whole group. I could have selected the whole group. And then when I get the whole group, I can just say, assign that to, I'll see that was like kind of, some of these may have them in there already. Yeah, see, there was two different ones. See, one of these pictures I had assigned as Mather for some reason. So if I didn't have that assigned, you can take a whole group and assign them. And that would be very useful. You could even go from events. So if we go back to events, and, well, here's our MacNexus meeting. You know, there's only one picture of that. Here's 42 of them. I could take this entire event and assign that event a place. Okay? Be careful, because you may have a morning and afternoon. You may be in Utah in one picture and in Arizona in the other, or event, excuse me. Go ahead, John.
Is this program unique to the Mac, or does the iPad do the same?
I don't think you can put coordinates in the iPad. I think it's here, but it's recognized by the iPad. But I think that will be coming. I mean, I really think so. Now let's talk again. So that's again, events, photos, faces, and places. What I want to do is briefly go into slideshows, because that to me is one of the most powerful tools, especially here over the holidays. So I've made a, actually, we're going to edit this. We're going to go into editing first. Now I searched the internet to find a red-eye photo. So let's fix a couple of these photos. I'm going to click on this photo, and I'm going to go down here to edit. Oh, you're not.
You're below the screen.
Below the screen.
Let's fix the projector speed, please. Wow. Okay, excuse me a second. Move this forward. Oh, closer. I need to go. No, I need to go closer still.
Is that as high as it goes?
Yeah, but it still was not filling it. So.
That means the tripod doesn't go higher than that?
Yeah, but then it blocks people's view. So let me do this. It'll adjust the keystone. Come on, keystone. Come on, keystone. All right, let's move the keystone. All right, sorry it's not that low, but it's going to do.
Close enough for government work.
Yep. All right, so I found a photo on the internet last night when I was searching around because I wanted to show you how to adjust red eye. So if we go into Edit down here and click Edit, we have 3 tabs up here: Quick Fixes, Effects, and Adjust. Most of the time, you're going to use quick fixes. And if we go here, the first and most apparent thing is we want to fix red eye. So if I click red eye, I can say auto fix red eye, and it won't do it because I think it's too big. But if I go, see this little slider here? It shows me the size of what I'm going to make. So if I go about here, and I slide this over here. Oops, I'm going to undo. I need to make it a little larger. You can make it much bigger than what it is, and it'll cover it. And what it'll do. So you'll notice it kept the reflective sheen in there. Now I'll warn you, dogs and cats, it's really hard to fix their eyes without making them look lifeless, because it's not the same thing. Cats really glow like this, and dogs, they just look lifeless. But that still looks like a pretty good eye. Look at the difference between the two. Okay? So if I want to see what I did before I made these changes, if I hold the Shift key down, it shows me changes, not changes, changes, not changes. But
Did you hit something? Sorry.
I'm holding the Shift key down.
And it automatically.
It just shows you. It doesn't revert back. I can now. Here's the best part. I can hit undo, or I can say revert to original. You never ever are going to mess up your original photo. That being said, let's mess this up. But let's do something. Here's a little blemish down here. So I'm going to go down here and hit retouch. I have the same slider, right? But let's go fix this little blemish right here. I'm now a plastic surgeon. There's a little one right here on the forehead, too. Let's get rid of this extra, what's that called, epilation or whatever it is. Oh, that didn't work well, so I just hit Command-Z and undo it. A little bit of blemish right here. What this does is it blends it with what surrounding things are around it. Okay? Now, if I hold the Shift key, there's how it was before. Okay? Go ahead.
When you're trying to change the blemish, do you make it bigger than the blemish? And so it text the color around it?
Yeah, and you have to be careful because the problem is when you try to correct blemishes, like I can do okay on the face here. I'm just hitting this a bunch of times. Look at how I kind of can smooth out the face there. But look what happens if I get over here by the nose. Okay, Command Z. But more importantly, when I have big color ranges like this, see, it's not perfect. In that case, you would want to make it more finite. And two ways to make it more finite is if I zoom the picture in more, and then I can come over here and adjust my blemish, and I could come over here and do that. I could get rid of this little spot in the eye right here. Okay, so I zoom with the zoom slider right here. Now when I zoom the slider in, I have this navigation window, which is where do I want to be in the picture. But I also can get more finite with it, okay? This isn't Photoshop, it's not Aperture, but these are a lot of quick fixes, okay?
How did you, oh, down there.
Right there in the zoom slider, okay? The next thing I can do is I can just say enhance, which I'm not going to use on this photo. Straighten wouldn't be appropriate. But let's just say I want to retouch and I kind of really mess up this photo. Okay, it's kind of messed up, right? All I can do is I can undo what I just did as many steps as I want, or I can always revert to original photo. You will never destroy your original photo. There's no reason to make a duplicate. Okay? Your original photo is intact. So, let's, it's pretty ugly. Let's,
All in the same file?
I'm sorry?
There's not two separate files?
No, there's one file, well,
Yes and no.
yes and no. It references the file, but it's, for all intents and purposes, what my reference there was to a lot of people duplicate the photo and then adjust that one. There's no need to do that.
Question?
Yes?
On album, if you have your original photo in an album, smart album, and then you edit it, are both there?
Yep, I'm just going to show you that because I have this photo in 2 MacNexus class albums, and look at this. She's fixed in this one. Because remember, we're messing with the original photo that doesn't really live in the album. It really lives in our photo library. Okay? So,
Then how does it not affect the original?
well, what it does is it's making modifications to the original, and the original still stays there. So this is essentially an algorithm. It's saying do this, do that, do these other things to it, but that's an overlay. Think of it as an overlay above your original photo. You could make drawings and tracing and stuff. If you remove that, the underlying photo is still there. That's in simplistic terms, but that's really what it is.
They're not both in the smart album. You just went to the.
There is no both. There's only one photo.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I can't
it.
see both simultaneously.
Well, you can when you hit when you go back.
Ken,
Yes?
if you do make a duplicate, because you have the ability to do that.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I understand that, but if you do make a duplicate, are you making a duplicate of the original then? Or if you made changes to it, is it duplicate this?
Let's see what happens. It's a good question. So I just duplicated that. And I click here. Oops.
And you're doing that in an album, not in the.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where I do it. It affects the same everywhere.
It affects the original.
So there I,
Okay.
and see both of them can revert to original.
Okay.
Okay? Okay.
Yeah.
Does that answer that for you?
Did it duplicate the changed one, the edited one?
It duplicated it with its corrections, but it allowed me to revert it to original.
Let's say you wanted to email that photo to someone, could you select either one from the library that's unaltered or the one that is altered? No, select which one you want to email.
So the question is could you, if you wanted to email the unaltered one, you would have to revert it to original, or in this case, duplicate it, revert the duplicate to original, and then email that. Does that answer that?
Yeah, sure.
So let's go here. So
So somebody can see what you did between comparing.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and if they get it, they're not going to revert to original. And again, once you send it to them, they won't be able to undo what you did because you're sending them a snapshot of what it currently is.
Right, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So in that case, it'd be good you could send both and see, you know, hey, I've got this one, and here's what the changes were. Is that kind of, I don't want to get too far in the weeds on that, but go ahead, John.
If you select the whole album, can you do a quick fix on the whole album? In other words, all the photos?
So I don't think you'd want to do that with red eye. Oops, and it won't. It's picture by picture.
Only picture by picture.
Yeah. Unless you go into the next one I'm going to talk to you about. So let's go to, this is probably a pretty good photo to do. Yeah, let's do this photo. Now, when I hit edit, you can tell that this is, I haven't done anything to this photo because I can't revert to original. This is how it was shot. Okay, so I have a thing here, and remember I like to do a little bit underexposed. How I took this photo is, I have my camera on program mode. I don't set all my stuff. I let the viewfinder do all that. I don't have it on automatic. I have a program. But I tilt it up to a little bit brighter sky, hold the button, I have it on zoom to infinity, I hold the button down halfway and then bring on my tripod, I bring it down to take the photo here, and therefore it underexposes this down here. Okay? But here's what it automatic enhance thinks it should look like. Okay? And that's probably a little closer to what it was, but I sure don't like that. So I'm going to hit undo. Now, obviously I can rotate it. Let's say my horizon was a little off. I can go in here and change the horizon, which is very popular. But what happens is it also crops it at the same time because it's trying to make a box around what that is. So I'll hit undo. And of course you can crop anything you want. And when you crop, you can constrain it. Now, what that means is, right now I can crop it and make the darn photo look like that, right? That's probably not what we want. But if we hit constrain, whatever my ratio of height to width is maintained no matter what I do, etc. And these little crosshairs are called the rule of thirds. When you're taking pictures of things, you don't want them, unless it's a passport or a mugshot, you don't want to be straight on. You want to put people up in the corner, anywhere in these three corners around the middle, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So that's constrained in that it doesn't change. Now, if I'm going to make a 5x7 of this, I click 5x7 and it automatically constrains it to that, correct? So now let's say I want to have it, and now, yes, I'm changing the size of the photo, but the outcome will still be a 5x7 because the ratio is 5 inches to 7 inches. Okay, there was a question here, someone, Billy?
I can understand the real standard kind of 5x7 sort of thing, but I never.
You know a different 5x7?
What?
A different 5x7?
I just
Centimeters.
the standards that they print pictures in. How's that?
Yeah.
But if I'm going to, maybe use this picture to shoot up to Facebook, maybe send it in an email, maybe use it in a slideshow. I really don't know. Maybe put it up on Flickr.
Slideshows will kind of do what they want. Generally, Flickr, it's a full-size photo. Facebook deals with photos crappy. I mean, I've had it put up photos there where the part of the photo I want everybody to see is not on there at all. That's why you now have this 4x3, and that's what they use. But, Facebook's lowest common denominator. So I think it's 4x3 is what you want to constrain it to. So you do have customs. You can constrain as portrait, landscape, etc.
Say Facebook, it says 4x3 or things.
Yeah, but it does share to Facebook. But just because it says share to Facebook, which we're going to go into sharing here in just a minute, it won't do it. Think of it this way: you can crop without constraints. You can crop it to whatever sizes you want. If you constrain it, it's a ratio that's fixed. Okay, that's the only thing you have to know about that. And cropping can be beneficial in many ways. To accent a certain area like this, and then when I hit done, it essentially is a digital zoom. There it comes back to that digital zoom, how we started the class off. I can digitally zoom here much more efficiently than I can digitally zoom on the camera. But you run the risk when you digitally zoom, you're in fact lessening, you're making it less fine. In other words, more pixelization may show up if you go to extreme. A lot of it depends on how good the original photo was.
One more thing on that size thing is that I made a movie with my regular size.
We're not in iMovie.
What?
We're not in iMovie.
All I want to say is it clipped off the top and the bottom. I just don't.
You can crop in
understand.
iMovie. You can crop in iMovie.
It,
What was your question back yours?
Is undo just like Command Z?
Correct.
Just as your last
And it's
action?
well, no, until you save the last time. Like, let's do this. I'm gonna enhance. I'm gonna rotate. I'm gonna crop. So, okay, done. Now I hit undo, undo, undo. I can go as many undo levels as I want to until I switch to a new photo, and then I can't really do undos. After that, I have to revert to original. But while you're working on the photo, you can do undo, 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 undo. And let's do our redos just to show you.
Redo is the opposite of undo.
Same thing, but it's not a button for it. But remember here, the shift key always tells us what it was like before we did. It won't do the rotate part. Okay, Command Z is undone. All right. Yes?
Pictures you take on your iPhone apparently have a different setting than camera often does. And Costco, when you order prints, makes you crop pictures from an iPhone that it doesn't do when you're on your camera.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. So when it shows up on the screen, do you have to do that?
You have to every print, and it'll do it automatically. But if you look at them, you can choose how you want to crop. But they won't.
Well, it also probably depends on what you're printing it on, because obviously an 8x10 is different than a 5x7.
Well, this is for your 4x6.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't know that. So I'd check with some other photo outlets and see if it's the same. I know you have on, huh?
You haven't run into that anywhere.
I don't use those
You're
services.
talking about like what they call digital prints. Which
Just what you
when
order.
They kind of cut
you
off
order
the
online.
4x6. I think Walgreens does that as well. So you have to be mindful of
Which is kind of like when we get into the books and cards here in just a couple minutes. So I'm going to go back over these other effects. So those are the quick fixes. Effects are just things you can do. You can darken. You can give it a matte or a vignette. But we don't want any of that. Those things are kind of, you can do black and white things. Those are just fun and games. You can just go here and saturate it more. Keep hitting the saturation more and more and more. Undo, revert to original. But adjust is where you want to do a lot of your heavy lifting if you really want to enhance your photo. Go ahead.
Are you using Photoshop and Essential
No,
Elements too? No.
this is iPhoto.
Oh,
I don't have Adobe products, and I don't want Adobe products because they don't like you. Adobe is not your friend. Didn't say they don't have good products. So if I go back to this photo and I go to my quick fixes, see here, all of my settings are neutral right now. If I go back to quick fix and hit enhance, look at what it's done to my settings. This is what it thinks it wants to do for these settings. Okay? So I'm going to revert to original. And now let's talk about what these different settings can do. This histogram is really the balancing of your photo, and all I do is I move things around and see what they're like. But I can grab here and change. I don't know histogram well, so I just see, well, okay. I can adjust my levels in the middle here, and I can grab over here. It's probably a little harder to see in the projector than it is on a good screen. I'll go undo, undo, undo. Now, exposure. This is how much or how little light enters the photo. Now look at when I up the exposure, you can see, well, you can't really see there, but there's more grasslands you can see down here underneath my photo. Okay, so I'm going to hit undo. Contrast. The contrast between different things. And that's what I do is I play with the slider and look at it and see what it is. Saturation is one thing I probably use a little bit because when I underexpose, I don't get a lot of the coloring. But this will increase the color changes on those things. And I can make this thing look just so artificial all I want, but that's not the idea. Definition, shadows. Now this is one I like because I underexpose my photos. Down here you don't see that this is grassland, so if I move my shadows up, it's bringing more and more data out of the lower part without doing much to my other photo. It is really hard to see there, and I apologize for that. I think we're... Anyway, can you kind of see where it... I can't see from this angle.
Is this JPEG or a raw photo we're looking at?
This one's a raw. Yeah, it'd have to be darker with the screen. But anyway, it brings stuff out. Denoise just means it brings only the little... What happens is sometimes when you modify the photos, it just gets a little noisy or it gets a little bit, I don't want to say fuzzy, staticky to the images, and that denoises it. The other thing you're going to want to do is, if you're modifying a photo that has faces in it, you want to go, let's go back to, actually I need to undo that photo. Remember I said I pride myself in not using too many things on my photos, so let's go back to our photo here. And if I edit, now I'm going to change some things here. I'm going to change the saturation. See, it's changing her skin color. So I say avoid saturating skin tones. And now it doesn't do much to change her skin tone. So on photos where you have people in it and you're going to change the saturation level, in other words, the saturation level puts more or less color in it, you don't want it to change skin tones because people look a little ghastly. See? I'm sliding it back and forth. It's bad enough that she's got these eyes. Okay? All right. So that's the effects you can do, adjust effects and quick fixes. Now, we want to share our photos, and that's important. We've got a photo of an eagle here, let's say. And we want to share this photo, or multiple photos. I go down here and I share. Now, I have a lot of options. I can share it as a message, which would be a text message. You can send it from your Mac to anybody that has an iOS device with messages. Otherwise, you can email it. You can send it up to iCloud and then send people a link. So you're good catch. All is good. All right. iCloud, if we hit that, I'm not on the internet. Oh, did my Freedom Pop die? Ooh. Battery number 2, hang on. Oh wait, it's charged. Let's see if it goes. Okay, so it wouldn't let me do iCloud because I wasn't on the internet. And we'll know in a second. I'm going to change the battery. The thing with email is you should never email anything over 5 megabytes. Some of your email providers allow 10, some allow 20, but I just say don't do anything larger than 5 because you never know what's going to happen.
And how do I know if it's 5 megabytes?
I'll show you when we go to the email setting here. Good question is how do we know what the size is?
Is that as an individual file or is it one?
Total of all the photos. So in other words, yeah, so like 5 photos of 1 megabyte or 1 photo that's 5 megabytes. Come on, stuck.
So can you change the size of the photo to small?
Yes, I'll show you how to do that in one sec. Let me get this internet on. We usually, I mean, we had good internet here.
If you change the size of the photo to small, will they be able to blow it up and will it have all the?
It won't have as much detail. It lessens the detail. So in other words, if they're just going to look at it on their computer, it's no problem. It's if you're going to print it becomes an issue. So once the internet gets going here, but I'll show you here in a second here, I'm just going to take these photos and say email while the internet's warming up. And it won't even let me do that. Come on, Freedom Pop's back on. We're connected. Okay. We'll quit iPhoto and turn iPhoto back on. God, I hate the new logo. Or the new icon. Okay, so it still doesn't think I'm on the internet. Make sure I got a connection here. Sorry. The whole idea is Apple doesn't want you to get frustrated that it won't. Yep, we're on the internet. All right. Well, let's wait for the internet to catch up and let's show you slideshows and books really quick. So here is 22 photos in a slideshow. So I want to add to, which is the same as create, or I can go up here and go to create a slideshow, new slideshow, or add to slideshow. So I'm going to make a slideshow. First you make the album, and you might put in more photos than you think you want in the album so you can not use ones if you decide to. Same applies when you do books. So I'm going to say slideshow. Now I'm going to do a new slideshow, and I'm just going to call it test. It took and used the album name, but I'm just going to call it test. And you can see there's a title slide. Now, I don't know that I really want this photo to begin my slideshow, so let's just hit the delete key, and we'll start off with one of my photos. Now, down here, there's four components to a slideshow. There's the photos. There's the music if you want to have it on it. There's the theme, and there's the length of the slideshow. So if I go down here and hit themes, this will make you look like such a hero. I have put together slideshows in no amount of time, and I look so good. And it's not me, it's them. So I'm going to pick one that I like, just called Vintage Prints, because as I hover over these, it shows you which each one does. Holiday Mobile, it brings in different things. Photo Mobile is the non-holiday version. The Classic, where it goes from one to the other. And of course, the Ken Burns effect, where the photo moves from one to another. But let's use Vintage Prints. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to choose that. Okay? Now, I can preview that. And what I like about this Vintage Prints is the pictures in the background that are in black and white are other pictures you have in that same album. So that was pretty hard work, wasn't it?
Wow.
So let's click preview off. Let's go to music. Now, there is some theme music that Apple gives you free of charge, or you have access to your entire iTunes library. Now, if you're doing this commercially, be careful with using things in your iTunes library because you may not have the commercial rights to do that. So, I'm just going to use some theme music because this is fairly short, and you can notice the distance of a song here. So I'm going to click, rather than just have one song, I want to have two different songs for this playlist. I'm going to do two short ones. So I hit Custom Playlist. That's probably not one of the songs. and I'm going to say skating, and I don't know if these, I'm dragging skating and endless summer down to this lower part. Okay? So those are the songs I'm going to have. So I hit choose.
You can only have 5.
Is it a limit of 5?
I think so.
Carol says it's a limit of 5.
There is a limit, so don't.
Well, what you could do is, if you have a real long one, you could, in GarageBand or something, combine all the songs into one song that's very long. You could have, what's Inagata Davida, isn't that the long, really long? Yeah. But you could combine the songs in something else, or even in QuickTime, combine 8 songs into one song, and then it's still a song, because it's not a length issue. But I didn't know that, so that's good point. So now I click on settings down here, and I get my settings. Now, you can play a slide for a fixed amount of time, or what's really cool is I can say fit slideshow to the length of the music. So your slideshow and your music will end at the same time. Now, I have 4 minutes of music and I only have 22 slides. So the slides are going to be really long. Let's see if okay. So show title slides, that's the one that's when we talked about earlier, we'd name the slides if you want to have it in there. Repeat slideshow is always a good one if you're doing it. It will repeat if you burn it to a DVD, etc. And I'm just going to now say play. Oh, it takes a second. Luckily, I only have 22 photos. Go ahead.
You can put this on a DVD?
Yeah, you can. I mean, a lot of your computers may not have a DVD burner in them anymore, but yes, you can. You can make a full DVD if you still have iDVD in your computer. Now, these slides are going to be on for too long because it's 22 slides for 4 minutes. So, see how long that was on there. So I'm going to go back into my music, and I'm going to get rid of that one. Now it's only 2 minutes, and now I hit play. So it's probably going to still be about 6 seconds or so. It's still pretty long. There. So what I do is I take how many slides I have and determine, it's usually 4 to 6 seconds, depending on what it is that you want a slide to show up there. You probably want it to show up there longer. Your audience probably wants it to show up shorter. So, your 365 slides on that last trip, so determine that, and what you do is you make a calculation. And I've done it. I did a slideshow for my dad's memorial, and I had the songs we wanted, mom and dad's favorite songs, but I had a spot in the middle that was, when I calced it out, I go, I need something that's about 3 minutes and 41 seconds or something. So I searched my iTunes library by song length. And I'm not a Celine Dion fan, but the song from the Titanic, it fit in there perfect time-wise, so my slides were about the right length, and it fit the slideshow perfectly. It was really just kind of heaven sent that that's what it was. So you can always sort by that, but what you want to do is you want to consider the length of your slides when you do it. You can make your slides fixed length, and then the music won't end at the same time, and then it repeats and goes back. We had a question here first and then back there. Go ahead.
You can also arrange the slides how you want them.
Yeah, good point. So I could take this slide and move it right there. Okay, right in your timeline up there. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah. And then you can put transitions in here and some other things like that. You can do a text slide, like here if I want to say cars. Oh, text here. Let's get rid of this.
So how do you read up text?
Right here under text slide, it inserts a slide called a text slide. And then it's in fact like an overlay. So what happens is, let's move it between these two slides. And when I go back here and watch what happens when I'm going to change the setting to go quicker. We're just going to say, give me 4-second slides. Okay. Now when I hit play, the test is the album name. I can take that off if I want. There's the little Cars insert that goes with that. But if we choose a different theme that doesn't use this, let's go to the good old Ken Burns, choose. Now let's go back here and see how it plays. When that little Cars thing comes in, here's how what'll happen. See, it's on there like that.
So, is that,
It's part of the theme where it decides to show it, okay?
How do you get the text again?
Oh, I created a text slide, so let's make another right here as a text slide. I have to get over here. Let's say right here, and then I hit text slide. Okay? So I'll hit text slide and I'll say click down here, sunrise and water.
so you could put where you are on a trip and
Yeah, and depending on the theme depends on where it's going to show up on there. And you have to play with that, but you can see you can transfer between themes all you want. So here, go ahead.
Are you able to change the font and size?
No, it's locked into the theme.
Now, earlier versions you were.
Let's check.
You can on iMovie.
Yeah, on iMovie, which is where you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, you can't.
Yeah, I noticed that was a change. I thought.
I didn't think you could ever.
Oh, okay.
I may be wrong. You can change your transitions. Anybody else disagree with that? I don't think you can, right? Okay, Al, go ahead.
It used to be in each photo, you put like a description so you can have that displayed.
That is show caption right here.
It used to be one where you not only just show the title of the slide, but also it was like a description, if you want a description.
Right there, under show title, and then you can do these.
Okay.
So you can decide you have to select that, it's off by default. So that's different than a title slide. A title slide would be more like when I went transition from sunsets to cars, but I could have this particular photo be called sunrise and water or something like that.
Can the viewer move it along by pushing an arrow key, even though we've set it up for a time? You can do that with
Depends on what they're playing it with, really.
internet things you can do.
Yeah, it depends on what they're playing it with. Because you make it and then you're going to get it to them somehow, which is when we're going to talk about sharing here in a second. So anyway, that's slideshows are incredible. When you're done with your slideshow, you can export it as a movie or do whatever you want with it. You can send it to an Apple TV. But once you have a slideshow here, you want to export it as a movie and then you share it from there. Okay? Most of the time you just plug this into your projector and go from there. Let's go back to our share and let's see if we've got anything working on sharing here. We're working, good. All right, so let's take these 8 photos and I click share. Message is no-brainer, that's just text messages, but only if they have an Apple or an iOS device. If I click on mail, the cool thing is I have all my information here. The message size, if I use the setting is medium, it defaulted to medium. It's 1.27. I over here can say actual size. Now it's 39 megabytes because I shot these in RAW, so they're pretty good sized photos. Okay, I want to probably do optimized is not bad. That's what they choose. But realistically, people don't need to see them that big. Something like that works, whatever. Now, you'll notice I have some options over on this side for stationaries and stuff. So let's say I pick this stationary, or actually this one looks pretty good. I have the option, so this is the size they're going to see it. Okay? But if I want them to also have an attachment of the photos, I have to say attach photos. So you can see here is, if I make this actual size, it still grew to 39 megabytes, but if I unattach the photos, it's very small. Okay? So let's wrap our heads around that. This is what they're going to see. That's the size of the photos. But if we want to also include our original photos, not in this format, it's on by default, but we want to say attach photos to message. Okay?
And that can be as big as.
And then you choose the size of that. These are locked in, and you can see when it does, they're very small. They're 8 photos. It's 200 kilobytes.
Is the attached photos also limited by the 5 megabytes? Or can they?
Any email should be limited to 5 megabytes. Okay? So if you've got a big one and you want to send them actual size, you can go up to, actually you wouldn't use mail, you would go up to share via iCloud and make a new photo stream, and then you will make a link to your photos. So therefore, they get those photos from a link and they download them. You're not uploading them and they're not downloading them.
Is that what Dropbox does?
Nah, Dropbox similar, but Dropbox can do this, but you've got it built into your Mac, so use this. It's a lot easier. Although they have to be on an Apple device to get these usually. That's the one caveat. I think that'll change.
I mean, the recipient.
Yeah.
Has to have Apple.
Yeah. So Billy, question?
Yeah, people often want a copy of mine so they can print. And normally for them to look at, I just send the small ones. But then I tell them if they, if they want the actual one, which is,
Send them the bigger size.
then I just send like one to an email of
Yeah.
the actual
And
size.
that's fine, because
Okay.
one, 2, or 3 on an emails usually will make it.
Okay.
So, and it all depends, because some cameras shoot 2 megapixel, which will be about 2 megabytes of photos, somewhere in there. It's not exact, but it's actually a little different than that. But that's really has to do with it. So let's show some other share things really quick. I can share it to Facebook. That'll post it right to Facebook. These all apply on your iOS device too. And we can share it right to my favorite called Flickr, Flickr. You can share it to Twitter if you want. But before, we want to also show you what these books are like. Setsuko, you have a question?
How can I download DVD?
You have to have iDVD. You have to save, like,
I have to make a DVD, not this one.
Okay.
This version.
we're not doing iDVD today because also Apple doesn't include iDVD anymore.
No, I thought it's a simple way to buy on a DVD, right from this version, not one to try.
No. You have to drag them. You have to do that, but we're not. No. Most people don't have iDVD anymore, so we're not going to go over that. I'm sorry. That can be. Pete can do that in one of the iPhoto classes. So the book. Oh, actually, I don't want a book of all of that. Got to go down to my MacNexus class. Somebody's car's paging them. And I'm going to say share to a book.
There you go. I like that. Get your attention when you want to.
It'll stare at you the whole way. All right, so now I'm going to go select all, and I'm going to say share as a book. Now, there are two sizes of books now. The book that I have here is a large, and they have an extra large. So the large book like there, which is 20 pages front and back, is $29.99, and it's $1 a page after that. A page is front and back. Okay? You have lots of choices of designs, and then you have also color choices for the covers and the insets. And if I hit create, there's all my photos, and it auto-filled for me. But let's say I want this Bentley photo to be right there. Oh, hang on. I have to go like this. Oh, the other thing you want to do over here is photos. There. These show your used and unused photos, the check marks. So let's say I want to replace this Bentley photo. I click on the page, and I want to replace that one with this. I simply drag this photo over to it, and it shows I've used that photo. But now you'll notice this Bentley photo does not have a check mark by it. It's an unused photo. It did autofill on its own. You can do lots of great things. And then if you go into this page, I can change the layout of the page to be this style, mosaic. I can have a background if I want. Let's go back here. I can also do a layout that is multiple photos. I can make it be a simple text page. Options would be a photo like 3 photo like this. Let's say like this. So then I would add photos to these. You have tons of options, and believe me, this is where you really spend the time. And do you want, are you heading over there, Robert?
No, I'll be back.
Okay. So that's about it. That's books. You can do cards. Again, I encourage you to come look at this. You can't hurt yourself using iPhoto, and you always have this thing up here called iPhoto Help. Okay? Virtually everything I showed you is the same on the iOS device. The only thing I want to point out is on the iPad, iPhoto is a program that allows you to edit and do a lot of that. But your photo management programs on your iOS device is under Photos, not iPhoto. Those of you that know, iPhoto on your iOS device is more like Aperture, where Photos is your iPhoto for your photo management. Al, you had a question?
When you order one of these, you go one of these and you order it up, typically what's the turnaround time?
You know, I haven't ordered one in a while. Billy, how long did it take to get your calendars? It's a couple days. Yeah, a week or less. Yeah, 10 days. You know, you can even, like we talked about ordering prints, I mean, I could go down here. Let's go back to, oh, by the way, if you make a photo album, as soon as you order it, go look in your trash can, because there'll be a PDF of your photos that you ordered in your trash can, and you can save that PDF, and you've got your own PDF, so you can print your own. That's a Ken's tip. Let's get rid of this project. And I'm going to go here to our MacNexus class photos, and I'm going to say share as, wow, order prints right here. I can order these prints right from Apple, and I think they start at like 11 cents each. Obviously, you want to order a bunch at a time because of freight, so there's the pricing right there. I was off with 11 cents. Oh, 12 cents. 5x7, 12 cents. They raised the price on me. So
I'm assuming this is Apple, and so it's going to be better quality than when I try to do it at Rite Aid.
yeah, and you know what I would investigate is a lot of these photo printers. I did some work. I went up to one of the Walmarts and I replaced some things in one of their big printer things. Some of those are just inkjet printers. I don't know who, but you want to find one that still uses what's called a dye sublimation process for their photo printing, because it's much better. And I don't know who does. That should be a task that we should get somebody to do. Okay, questions? Go ahead. You guys can hang around for questions if you want.
When you select the layout, with more pictures on the layout, does it crop the picture, or does it just reduce the size but keeps the thing?
The quantity of pictures you have to control, but once it's in the layout, you can adjust where in the photo you want it, and you can adjust the zoom in and out on the photo. You can essentially crop the photo. But you know, you're going to want to, and that's what I should mention on the slideshow too. It always does a better job now between landscape and portrait. It used to be really bad on slideshows that you cut off the heads of people and different things like that. So no, you can adjust, that can be adjusted in there, and you can edit the photo. Cool, thank you. I'll stop the recording.